Welcome to AlexGs Aquarium, everybody. Today is another update on the 1600 gallon system. I'm going to be going through all the aspects of the 1600 gallon system to let everybody know how things are going. I want to start off by talking about the 720 gallon tank behind me. Now the 720 gallon tank has been doing really good. There hasn't been a whole lot in the way of change here. I haven't added any new fish to this tank yet, and so far all the fish have been doing good. All the wrasses and the damsels that are in there. The one little piece of Blue Ridge coral that I have is also doing really well. I actually kind of sloughed off a slime coat. The polyps are actually starting to come out on it, which is kind of nice to see. There's not much in the way of algae in this tank. It's a little green on the rocks, but nothing is really broken out in this tank. There's a tiny touch of cyano, but not much to speak of in the way of hair algae or anything like that. I literally only have 2 turbo snails in there, and I'm pretty sure I'm down to 1 because I have a big hermit crab in there, which I think decided it wanted a new shell, so it killed one of the other turbo snails. Needless to say though, the 720 gallon tank is doing good. The raw spot pumps that are in here have also been performing pretty good. I have changed their programming up a bit so they ramp up and down, and when I did that, they do make a little bit of noise as they do it. Although I found that because it's a plywood tank, it does tend to get a little bit more in the way of a reverberation noise. But generally for me, noise isn't much of an issue. I have a dehumidifier running, the furnace is down here, the hum of the return pump, and all the water flow noises. Noise with an aquarium for me is really not a detrimental thing. I just get used to it, and I still enjoy kind of a nice background noise of all that stuff going on. Let's move on, talk a bit about the 480 gallon tank, because there have been some changes there. The 480 gallon tank has been doing good. If you're not familiar, I've been going through a big algae bloom in this tank ever since I added the new Radion lighting and the T5s. It's starting to slowly dissipate, which tells me that whatever nutrients it was trying to burn out in the rocks are finally going away. I don't believe this is a larger water quality issue in this tank, because I have not seen the algae growth really explode in the 720 gallon tank, as I kind of would have expected to see a lot more growth in there if this was an overall water quality issue. Patience has really been the key with this. I have gone in once or twice with a bucket and a hose and vacuumed out a bit of the algae, more so to just keep it away from some of the corals so it doesn't irritate them, as I've seen a couple that have gotten irritated, especially this one. Monopora here was getting a little bit of the hair algae kind of rubbing against it, and it was kind of getting irritated, so I just removed that. But otherwise, I haven't been doing a whole lot. When I removed the water with the hose and sucking out algae, of course I did a little mini water change of like 40 gallons, which really is not much of anything in this size tank. And I want to make it clear to everybody that when you have algae blooms, it's important to be patient and don't take drastic measures. I'm trying to understand what's causing it, what's feeding it. I know that I had a big change that triggered this, which was adding all the lights, and therefore I said let's give it some time and be patient with it. I was a little concerned it could be my RO water, because I do let about 2 TDS slip by, and I will be replacing my DI cartridge in my RO unit. It's due. I got one that's just a DI and silicate blaster resin. We're going to try that out, see how it works. I might eventually go to a multi-stage DI as well, just so that I can kind of be a little more lazy about changing DI resins out. But that'll all happen in the future, because I'm not that concerned that that's what's causing it. In the last few days, I've seen a huge change in this tank, and I did add a little bit in the way of cleanup crew to this tank to combat the algae. I added 2 sea urchins, 3 fighting conchs, and a dozen additional Mexican turbo snails, which all have been doing a good job. And I even added 1 fish to the 480 gallon tank, which is a 2-bar rabbitfish back there. And if you're not familiar, rabbitfish, like a foxface, are ferocious algae eaters. They don't care what kind of algae it is, usually they will eat it. So in combination with that, and also the UV sterilizer, since it's been added, it's been making the skimmer pull out tons of green stuff. I think it's all been kind of working in combination to just slowly burn this algae out I don't think it's going to last in here much longer. I'm thinking another few weeks to a month, it'll hopefully be completely cleared out. I will say that the rabbit fish went through a quarantine period of a week before it went into the tank, just to make sure it was staying healthy and didn't have anything going on. I just did a treatment with Paragard for that week. And so far, the fish has been doing great. Well, foxface and rabbitfish can be really shy. I find this one isn't too bad, and it's kind of opened up to me walking in front of the tank. It will go into its camouflage mode sometimes when it's eating like it is right now, but otherwise the fish has been doing great. The rest of the fish have been doing good in the tank, and I think I'm at the stage now where I'm going to start rotating fish into a quarantine tank before I add them into the main system, so there'll be more fish coming into these tanks. Did add a couple additional corals to the 480 gallon reef tank, just some LPS and soft corals. I'm not going to get any more SPS corals until I get my par meter and get these lights all turned up. I did add a couple of calastrias or trumpet corals, just kind of more of a mint green one and then a neon green one in the back, just a couple small frags. They've both been doing good. One had a single head that died on that neon green one back there, but when I got it, it was already kind of face down on that, so it's doing okay. Everything's opened up and looking good. I did get a neon green toadstool leather with the green polyps. That one's been doing really nice. I even got a little rock of zoanthids. I'm not a huge zoanthid fan, but I have such a large amount of space here. I am going to throw some in and let them spread around as well. I've added one additional animal to the 480 gallon reef tank, and that's my first sea anemone. I got this bubble tip anemone here, which it's still kind of closed up. Actually getting stung by some corals in the tank it was in, but it's such a nice orange fire to it that I wanted to get it back into this tank, start feeding it, because even though it was stung by some corals and it was kind of retracted on one side, that should easily heal up in a few weeks, so not having to worry about getting stung and getting fed. So that sea anemone's in there. It's on a little rock island, so it shouldn't really try to cross the sand, as bubble tip anemones, in my experience, don't like going through the sand. That's the main update on the 480 gallon reef tank though. There'll be more to come on this tank here in the next few weeks. I'm hoping that I'll be able to show it to you with a lot less algae in it each time I do an update on the tank. Let's go into the fish room now. I'll show you guys a couple of other things that are going on in there. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the fish room. You might notice that the protein skimmer has a jug of vinegar on top of it. Well, that's because in the last couple of days, I've had to do a couple of things to this protein skimmer to get it actually working where it's not causing an overflow. This jug is on here to hold the lid down because the skimming getting produced is such a thick, heavy foam. It's actually been lifting the lid off of this thing. This is a pretty big skimmer lid. The skimming is not even breaking back down into a liquid very easily because it is so heavy and dense. It actually has started pushing up through the air holes in here. And I've been debating on some things I could do, such as opening up the drain in the cup and draining off into another container. But I think for now I'm just going to kind of let it go and see how it performs as this algae bloom continues. Now you might say, with it producing that much foam, why not remove the modification of the protein skimmer that was allowing it to rise faster in the neck of the skimmer? Well, I did that this week. After my third time cleaning the skimmer, I said, enough is enough. I'm going to pull this modification out and allow this protein skimmer to try and run without it. And it is still getting tons of skimming in here. Just look at this thing. It looks like someone dumped soap into this thing. And it's such a heavy and thick foam that it's actually making enough air pressure to raise the lid out and spill over. Even with this on, it's still putting up enough pressure to blow it through the lid before it breaks down. I'm going to be kind of watching this over time, because if this is a long-term thing, I'm not sure we're going to allow this to continue to happen forever. I might have to make a new lid for this somehow, do something to combat this from happening. I'm hoping it's mainly due to the algae outbreak, which is fine for me because I want this algae out of the tank, and I'm looking forward to it just going away. Another thing that I've done is get some backup equipment. I got a second reef flow hammerhead pump that was brand new in the box. I got it off of another person that had it on Reef to Reef for a really good price, and now I have a backup return pump in hand. I'm eventually going to put the same plumbing onto this pump that is on the existing one now, so that when I want to do pump maintenance on my existing reef flow hammerhead, I can simply swap it out and let this one run and put hours on this pump, get the other pump cleaned up, change the seal when I have to, and just do general maintenance on it. It's important to have spares, and because it's a main return pump and it's so critical to the operation of this whole system, I have a spare on hand, and I'm going to start doing that slowly over time, buying a few more spares, such as another Renko controller for my heating system. Probably end up buying a couple of just spare heaters in case I have a hot water heater failure. The recirculation pump is another thing that I'll eventually be getting a spare of as well, so that if I have failures, I have parts on hand already to swap them out. I don't have to worry about the cost of it either at the time, or shipping, because I've already bought it, have it on standby for when I actually need it. The Refugio tank has been doing really good. I actually cleaned the glass on it and scraped all of the coralline off because it was just a mess. I mean, I'll show you guys a quick clip here of just how heavy the coralline had gotten in this tank. Now, since I've cleaned it, I've actually been able to see a few things. The mantis shrimp is doing good. We've been on Rico's Reef Tanks live streams. I've actually done a couple of feeding sessions for the mantis on the live stream itself. I plan to do more videos on the mantis as well in the future coming up. The big thing I want to talk about in this tank, though, is that I really would like to see more in the way of chaeto growth. I think in part, though, I'm not getting it because I just don't have a huge bioload for this system yet. So as I get things going, then the next big step, of course, is going to be getting more life into the main tanks, but there will be more to come on this refuge tank. I want to see more macroalgae in here than there already are. The caulerpas in here have been growing a bit more, so everything's been going pretty good in this tank overall. The reef tank lighting has been doing really good. I still have the radions only programmed to go up to a 40% intensity, but I have a par meter that has been put on order. I'm hoping to get that in the next week or two, and I really want to see just how much par I've been putting into these tanks before I go cranking it up. I'm going to be doing quite a few experiments with these lights, and I really want to understand the par in the tank with different intensities of lighting and also the different spectrums of the lighting. How much par do the T5s alone put into the tank, or how much par is coming into the tank from each different spectrum of T5? These are things I really want to see in this tank once I get a par meter on here, so I can understand better how the lighting is affecting this tank. And then once I have that information, I'll definitely be sharing it with some videos. Another thing that I've still got to do is kind of do a little cord management here for my gyre pumps. The gyre pumps have been working out really good for this system so far. They're doing exactly what I wanted, which is having both on one end and keeping a low flow area below them for the LPS corals, but making a high intensity water flow on the other side of the tank where I plan to keep the SPS. Everything's been doing really well with them. They're in a random mode that goes all the way up to 100% on the pumps. Thus far, I haven't had any issues. The one was making a bit of a squeaking noise, and I was just doing like a third cleaning on these pumps, just taking them apart, getting used to them, and taking all the parts and wiping them down. And I noticed on the one that was making a squeaking noise that there was one little rubber gasket missing from it. and I found it in the box, and as soon as I put that on, like, I haven't heard any of the squeaky noises I did before. So it's important to make sure that all the parts are installed in the pump if you have any kind of issues with them. They do have quite a few parts to take apart, and I will make a video on cleaning them and doing maintenance on them as well. While they do have a little bit more in the way of upkeep than something like Vortec MP40 or MP60, I still think that the type of flow they're generating is very much worth that extra effort. That's the update for the 1600 gallon system this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. Of course, if you have comments or questions on today's video, please go ahead, leave them down below. If you want to see something specific about the 1600 gallon system, let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to make a video about it or explain it as best I can in the comments section. Of course, if you want to see more on the 1600 gallon system, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Let's make this a 1,000 plus subscriber channel. We are this close to doing it, so if you haven't subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and I will see you on the next video.